Today we examine the astonishing parallel lives of separated twins.
Let's talk about that. Good morning.
In our high school, there were
Hornet
a set
Central.
of identical twins, Josh and Joey Smith. Friends of ours. I always felt bad for them when it came to playing soccer. We were on the same soccer team. When we were sophomores, we all sat at the bench, and at certain points, Coach Brandel would put us in.
I remember.
He would put the Smith twins in as a unit every time. He would say, Smithereens, and then they would both stand up and they would go into left fullback and right fullback, and then he would take them out of the game, Smithereens, at the same time.
But they got a cool nickname.
They were
like superheroes.
but they were never treated as individuals.
That's a problem.
So I felt bad. You know, I always think, well, I'm pretty sure twins want to be treated as individuals, but my question is,
So you can safely say that.
if twins were individuals, let's say they didn't know that the other one ever existed,
Intriguing.
would they actually have expressed individualism or lead weird parallel lives of anti-individualism?
I think I'm gonna say both because we've got some evidence of that, Link. We're gonna be exploring some twins that met later in life as adults and had some incredible parallels.
Okay.
I don't think it means that they weren't individuals, just so you know. I just think it means it's pretty crazy when you're the same genetically, what ends up happening.
Genetic clones.
Let's start with Paula Bernstein and Elise Sheen.
Okay.
They didn't meet until they were 35 years old, and through a certain set of circumstances, they learned that they had actually been the subjects of a experiment where they were separated at birth for scientific purposes.
What?
This seems like sci-fi, but there was actually a study that was later basically covered up.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. That can't be legal.
Well, I think what happened was, I don't know the specifics of the circumstance, but it was like there was probably an adoptive mother that was giving up kids, and they were like, hey, let's go and let's talk to these adoption agencies and let's track these kids and see they're not gonna know about each other.
But it seems like there's some ethical questions involved.
Clearly, and that's the reason why this was never found until like 35 years later. It was actually kind of stashed away in a Yale University archive, but
Really?
It was found, and the guys who came out did the study were ashamed of it. They didn't want to release it because they knew they'd be criticized. But when they finally met, they found out some incredible things, like they both had edited their high school newspaper, they both had studied film in college, they both became writers, and then they wrote a book together called Identical Strangers.
But they wrote the book together after being reunited. They weren't like both independently
They both
writing.
started independently writing a book called No, that didn't happen. Once they met each other, they had so many amazing parallels. They said, hey, let's write a book together. We're both authors, let's do it.
I don't know that you need to be perpetuating the facts of their parallelism given the way that the whole thing started. I think we should move on.
Okay, not a problem.
All right, I got Emily Falk and Lynn Bachman. Twin sisters born in Indonesia, separated at birth. Here's the first weird thing. They were both adopted by families in Sweden.
Those Swedish people love adoption.
They were both
I've always said that.
Taken back to Sweden at almost the age of 30. They were reunited thanks to Facebook and some other cross-referencing. Here's the thing that they found out. They lived their 30 years of life within 25 miles, 40 kilometers of each other in the southern part of Sweden.
They probably shopped at the same Walmart, whatever the Swedish Walmart
paths.
is.
Just think about crossing paths shopping. You think you're going in front of a mirror,
Yeah.
but
IKEA.
Wearing a different outfit.
That's me at IKEA, but it's not Mia.
They also were both teachers. They got married on the same day,
No.
1 year apart. But
Still pretty awesome.
1 year apart, same day, they danced to the same wedding song, You and Me by Lifehouse. You and me and all of the twins who don't know they exist and can't take their eyes off of you.
Okay, that's enough.
Funny thing was, that was my wedding song.
Yeah,
as well.
And mine, and we're not even twins.
And yours.
Yep, everybody's. Okay, those are pretty interesting, but they're not exactly shocking, like Barbara Herbert and Daphne Goodship. They were twins of a Finnish student.
If it was Herbert Barbara, that'd be a man.
Yeah, Herbert Barbara. It's not though, thankfully. It's two women.
Typically
it's
Barbara is a woman.
Barbara Herbert. They were born in Finland. They were both adopted by different families in London. They didn't meet until 40 years later when Barbara convinced adoption officials to basically release these records so she could meet her sister. And when they showed up at a train station to meet, and they were both wearing a beige dress and a brown velvet jacket. That's a pretty specific outfit to show up in, but it gets weirder from there. They discovered that they both fell downstairs at 15 years old and weakened their ankles. So they didn't just fall down, but they both weakened their ankles. Yeah, I remember my ankle getting weakened from that fall.
Okay.
They met their future husbands at age 16 at town dances. They both had a miscarriage in the same year, followed by 2 boys and then a girl in that order.
So their reproductive tracks were in sync.
Exactly. They both drank their coffee cold, and they also cooked the same meal from the same recipe book on the same day without knowing it. I don't know how they discovered that. But finally, the most amazing thing, they had a habit of pushing up their nose with the palm of their hands, and they independently said that this was called squidging.
Well, first of all, who pushes up their nose with the palm of their hand at
Barbara
all?
and Daphne
And
do.
then who, when they do that, calls it squidging?
Barbara and Daphne do, Link. They're squidgers. You
Squidge.
You never squidge? That's the
No.
new thing, man. We gotta squidge.
Sometimes I push on the side. Listen, I'll push on the side and my nose will pop. Did
What do
hear
you call that?
Squidging.
You call that squidging?
I do.
Me too.
I do. All right, I got one more. This is my favorite, guys. James Edward Lewis and his long-lost identical twin brother, James Arthur Springer.
Same name.
Both put up for your adoption in Ohio. They were each told that they were a twin, but that the other twin was dead.
That's mean.
Then they were both named the same thing by their parents, James.
Well, James.
But then they found out 39 years later that the other one existed. And these are the amazing parallels that they discovered. They both chain smoke, both like beer, both have woodworking shops in their garage, both drive Chevys.
This is just men at this point. We're men.
Both have high blood pressure. That's genetically obvious. Both had undergone vasectomies.
That's genetic too.
Both suffered from migraine headaches while undergoing vasectomies. I don't know. Both had actually vacationed on the same beach in the Florida Gulf Coast. Again, what if they were like in their Speedos, like, hey, it's me. No, it's not. It's what? Hey, what's your name? My name, I'm a mirror. What's happening?
Yeah, mirror.
All right. They were both married twice.
Okay.
First, they were married to Linda.
The same lady?
No, but a different Linda, but both Lindas.
They're both married to a Linda.
Yeah. And then they divorced their Lindas, and they both got married to Bettys.
Okay. This happened before they met. It wasn't like they met and said, let's get with a Linda and then a Betty.
Yes.
Because I heard that's fun.
They both had children, including sons named James Allen. They both named their sons James Allen.
This is weird.
They both owned dogs.
That's phenomenal.
Named Toy.
Toy?
They both named their dog
I've never known
Toy.
a dog named Toy, let alone 2 independently named twin dogs.
Squidge.
That's squidging crazy.
And this will blow your mind. They both worked in the sheriff's office as sheriff's deputies.
In the canine department.
It is interesting. You know, you think about the teachers, sheriff's deputies, both want to be writers. You know, there's certain things that you can understand. You got high blood pressure, wanting to have the same career path. That's a little astonishing. And then nicknaming things the same thing.
It just goes to show you, you know, not to get scientific here, but when your genetics are exactly the same, the expression of those genetics in some cases will be strikingly similar, down to naming a dog Toy. Who even does that besides James and James?
If you're a long lost twin, let us know in the comments what you think. And I would recommend reading the psychologytoday.com article where we read a lot of these things. A very fascinating article which explores a lot more of the questions associated with this nature nurture thing. If you're into it, link in the description.
Thanks for liking and commenting.
You know what time it is.
Hello, I'm Mihailo from Kragujevac, Serbia. I sent Spin the Wheel of Mythicality.
Don't forget, we just launched the new Camo Mythical Shoe. Wow! Whoop, pow, pow. Look at that pattern on
Go to
pattern.
redleg.com/store, click on the shoes. You can also get the hat that matches. It's pretty fashionable. Get yourself some. Click through to Good Mythical More where we explain our awkward interactions over the years with identical twins and the trouble that ensues.
Flying, but can't figure out how to stop. You know, I'm having a great time with you, but
amazing.
there's a problem.
What?
I don't know how we stop.
Me neither.
Where's the off switch?
I don't know, man. Maybe if you stop flapping your wings, and I just...
Nope, now I'm just gliding.
No,
now I'm just gliding because we hit an air pocket. What do you call it? A thermal. Because we're birds. There's just some sort of excitement that happens with the men folk when twin girls move into the community.
Wow,
There's two of them.
two of them.
Interesting.
I double my chances.